Hey, what's going on everybody? I found this really cool phone wallpaper on Pinterest, and I've had a few people ask me how to go over some of the techniques that are used in this wallpaper. So let's go ahead and jump into Illustrator and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, whenever I'm putting something like this together, I like to build the structure in Illustrator first and make sure that I have all of my elements together and then move those into Photoshop and apply all of the masking at that point. So what I'm gonna do here, the first thing I'm gonna do is move this over here to my canvas. We're gonna just center it right here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the opacity down to about maybe 40% or so. You want to get to a point where you can easily see the shapes that you're drawing on top of the art while making sure that it's all lining up. So what I'm going to do is basically recreate this and show you how it's done. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna hit Command 2 or Control 2, and that's gonna lock the layer. So I can do whatever I want here and that image is not gonna move. All right, so I'm gonna go over here and hold down on my shape tool and go to the ellipse tool. I'm gonna swap to the stroke right here, and I'll just go ahead and change the color to black. And you wanna make sure that the stroke color is the one that's actually showing here in front. So my assumption was correct here. The circle of this image is actually in the dead center. So I'm gonna go ahead and click here and hold down Option and Shift and drag this out. And what we want to do is we want the spine of this circle to be right in the center right here. So all we have to do is go over here to the stroke and bring this up. It looks like 100 points is going to be our size. So I'm going to select this and go up to Object and Expand and make sure that Fill and Stroke are both checked. I'm going to hit OK. So now this is a solid object that has a fill instead of a stroke. Okay, so now I'm going to recreate the rectangle, and we're going to do the same thing here. Make sure that the spine is roughly in the center. Doesn't have to be exact. We just need to recreate the shape itself. And we'll increase the stroke to probably around 40. I think that looks good. And now I'm going to select both of these and make sure that Align to Artboard is selected. And I'm just going to center those. And they were already centered, but it's always a good practice to make sure. All right, and now I'm going to grab my pen tool and just go right here to the top and straight to the bottom. And we'll bring this up to probably 10 points or so. And I'm just going to duplicate this over here. And now we're going to select all three of these. So the two lines right here, and then the shape in the center. We're going to go to Align to Selection and Distribute Spacing horizontally. Okay, and our next step is going to be to select these three and go up to Object, Expand, and expand the fill and the stroke. So now everything that we have here are all solid objects with a fill instead of a stroke. Okay, so now comes the fun part where we actually go in and cut out each one of the individual sections that are eventually going to mask our image. And it's actually pretty easy to do, especially if you're already familiar with the Pathfinder tool. So we're gonna select everything and move it over here. And with everything selected here, you can see where all of these paths are kind of overlapping with each other, or it kind of seems like they're overlapping. What we need to do is we need to go in and create a solid shape in some of these areas, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So it's best to think of these in terms of what you're eventually going to be doing with each one of these shapes. If you look from here, this crosses both of these lines and then comes down here and only goes in front of this one, but it goes behind this one right here. So this is one continuous shape that we're going to be creating. And then also going from here around here is also another continuous shape. But as of right now, we don't have any of that overlapping going on, so we have to create it. So let's select everything here, and we're going to go over here to the Pathfinder, and we're going to click on Divide. So that's going to divide up all of these sections right here. So now this is one section, this is another section, this is another section, and obviously that's not what we want. We need to combine some of these together. So we're going to make our college professors happy and use critical thinking. And the main selection tool that we're going to be using here is the Direct Selection tool. So that's A on your keyboard. So we need to have our Direct Select tool selected, and we're going to click on this one here, this one, this one, this one, and also this one is going in front of that white line, but it's going to be going behind this line. So we need to select everything up to that line. And now with all of those selected, we're going to go over here to the Pathfinder and click on Unite. And it looks like we may have forgotten one. So we have to select these three right here and click on Unite again. So now you can see here, this is all one shape. And now we just need to do the exact same thing to the other side. So again, with our Direct Select tool selected, that's A. You need to select this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And go over here to Pathfinder and click on Unite. So now we have a completely united shape right there. Okay, so now that we've divided each one of these into their own sections and everything is ready for masking, now we need to move everything over into Photoshop. So this next part is a habit that I've gotten into over the years, and it just helps me to make sure that everything is lining up perfectly the way it needs to in Photoshop. And what I'm gonna do is select everything and hit copy. And here's my canvas in Photoshop, so I'm gonna go ahead and paste as a smart object and hit OK. And this is gonna be the blueprint that I'm gonna be following here. Because what we need to do is we need to select both of these again with our direct selection tool. And I'm gonna go to the Pathfinder and click on Unite. And now with it still selected, I'm gonna hit copy, go into Photoshop and paste as a smart object. And this is good, that's lining up right here exactly where it needs to go. Again, this bottom layer that we did earlier is just a guide. So I'm gonna name this circle. And now because this is locked and we need everything other than what we already have selected, we just go over here to select and click on inverse, and that's gonna select everything else. So let's go ahead and hit copy and go over and paste it into Photoshop. So now we can name this one lines. And now we can delete this layer right here because it was just our guide from earlier. So as you can see here, we've got our circle on its own layer and our lines on their own layer. All right, so now we gotta go find an image. And what you want is something that has really good contrast from the top of the image to the bottom. So something like if you're gonna do a scenery or something like that, you wanna do like maybe some nice blues at the top and maybe some like oranges or dark browns at the bottom. You don't wanna do something like this where it's kind of like a mirror image. So I switched over to a portrait orientation, and I'm gonna just kind of look through here and see if I can find a really good example of what I'm talking about. All right, this one is really nice. We've got light colors here and going into dark colors at the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and download this one. I'm gonna bring this into Photoshop, and I'm gonna go here and paste this into our background layer, and let's go ahead and size this up. All right, so there is our background, but what about the masking inside the circle? Well, that's very easy. All we have to do is duplicate this layer, and we're gonna do that by hitting Command J or Control J, and we're gonna move this on top of our circle layer. So of course it's gonna make it look like our circle has disappeared, but it's still there, it's just on top of the circle. So now what we need to do is select both of these layers, and I'm gonna hold Option, or you can hold Alt on Windows on your keyboard and click right here. And it still looks like it didn't do anything, but check this out. All we have to do is do Command or Control T on your keyboard, and that will bring up your transform tool, and right click and click on Flip Vertical. So now we have our image right here, and it's perfectly reflected inside of this circle. And now for these lines, if you want to make them a different color, all you have to do is double click on the layer, go over here to Color Overlay, and you can use the color dropper if you want to use a color from this image. So you can do something like a white, so you can go completely white like our original image was, or you can color drop something like in here. I think that's really cool. It's a nice natural tone. Or you could do like a dark turquoise, that's really nice. But whatever you do, you want to make sure that it has plenty of contrast. And I like this one right here because you can easily see this mid-tone level of blue on the top and the bottom of the art. So you can just hit OK, and that's how you do this type of masking in Photoshop. All right, well, thank you so much for watching today. I really hope this video was valuable to you, and I hope I taught you something in Illustrator or Photoshop. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe, and click the bell for notifications to be notified of all future videos. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.